What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Kicks and Picks podcast. Nick and Scotty here with you. It is the final day for the Euros, final day for Copa America. Man, Scotty, it has been quite the tournament. We've been here through all of it. We did previews for both. We did daily plays for both. We did about as well as I feel like every other handicapper on the planet, which was a roller coaster through the group. But I think we really found our footing.
Yeah.
In the last couple of rounds, I think 5-1 with could have been a very easy 6-0 for us without that red card in Copa. So we have found the form, looking to bring that into the finals here.
Yeah, I mean, credit to you and coach. You guys crushed the semifinals, so high bar for us to kind of try to exceed in the finals here. But I mean, the story of the tournaments where we start out strong. I think we were pretty much on target early rounds, and then things kind of got a little, haywire in the rounds 2 and 3 of group stages. But I think everybody kind of struggled in those. There's a lot of unpredictable matches, a lot of low scoring games, which always hurt the props.
Yep.
So then we kind of recovered a little bit now in the knockouts. So I think we're on an upswing for sure. I think we've been allowed a lot of things. Doing our previews, we called a lot of these teams that were now in the finals. I think we were pretty bullish on Colombia. Obviously, Argentina.
Yes.
Can't take too much credit for that one.
Right.
Certainly bullish on Spain, and England have kind of persevered through ways that I don't think anyone really would have predicted in the beginning of the tournament. I think if people were high on them, they would have been high on them in the attacking piece of it. And that certainly hasn't been their strength, except for maybe the past match. But otherwise, been pretty strong tournament for us.
Yeah. And even has Pickford been their strength? Like, he's been a weakness, yet somehow they are still here. They've played pretty good defense. They've had a pretty good possession. And I don't think it's a surprise necessarily to see them in the final. It's a surprise to see how they got here. I think they lucked out certainly with the path, but you can only play who's in front of you. Spain and Germany, those were two teams that we tipped at the very top. Spain's looked fantastic. They're by far the best team in this tournament here in the Euros, and they're doing it without a real forward. And that's kind of what we've seen work a little bit. Like this tournament to me is like, I mean, maybe it's a long time coming, but it's like the demise of the true number 9. But now you're starting to see teams actually succeed with it, not just Spain.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it's probably why Spain's doing so well, is that seems to be the strategy that's working in this tournament, and Spain has been doing that for years, right? I mean, outside of maybe David Villa, they really haven't had a true out and out forward. I mean, you can bring up Morata all you want, but if you've been a dedicated listener of this podcast, our feelings on that already, so we don't need to dive into that.
For sure. So let's just jump into that game. Let's talk about some things that stand out to us. So Spain is the favorite here, plus 150 money line. England plus 240, plus 185 on the draw. Draw no bet. England is plus 125. And if you want to get really special and look at the spread here, England plus a quarter of a goal is minus 140. So I think we just kind of said out loud, Spain is the deserved favorite here. I won't. I mean, I don't know how much more detail you want to go into on why that is, but I do have a couple of bets that I'm looking at here that I think, two that I want to start with that are player props in particular is shots on target. Phil Foden plus 110 to get a shot on target. Thought he's really come on as of late. But I guess I will get into a little bit. I think last game against the Dutch may have been England's best game. I think, they gave up a goal early, and then they had maybe like a 10-minute period in that first half where things looked a little uneasy.
They did give up a goal, but that's not a goal that's really England's fault. Like, that was
right.
An incredible hit by Xavi Simons. So gave up a goal early is true, but I wouldn't give them any fault for that. So that's why when I say, like, I think it's by far their best performance, scoring multiple goals, having a lot more share of possession, and looking better when they had possession. And again, didn't really concede anything besides a shot that is a 1 in 1,000 type of shot, although when you have these type of players, they happen more than that. And there's nothing you could do. There's not really much you could say besides maybe like, hey, you should have pushed up and challenged them, a half a second earlier and maybe gotten something on it. But
I think, like I said, there was about a 10-minute period where like the Dutch had a couple chances off of set pieces, and They could have maybe gotten another one, but it was all England outside of that. England also hit the bar, hit the post. England had a goal cleared off the line, and obviously Ollie Watkins coming in, getting that 89th, 90th minute winner. I don't even remember when it was. So, like you said, multiple goals for them. Long way for me to say that I think Phil Foden really has found his game over the past few games. We talked about England, right? And like kind of reminds you a little bit of Portugal or like Germany. Like, do they have too much talent and not enough ball to go around? Like, at what point does somebody really have to take over and be the guy? And we've seen little moments of it, game in and game out. Jude has looked good and bad. Saka has looked terrible and then good.
Yeah.
But Foden to me has been pretty consistent, and I think plus 110 for him to get a shot on target seems like a great number to me.
Yeah, I think as far as like the shot on target props go, he's probably the one big standout. The crazy part, Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins being at minus 115 each, they're not starting in this match. I mean, I get that they're, great players to have if they're starting because they're going to be, in the box 60, 70% of the time. So in that context, Phil Foden at plus 110 is far better value. Saka at plus 135, also kind of interesting. Like you said, he's really kind of turned it on maybe in the last game and a half or so. So you can really pick your choice between those two. I think those are the two best values in this match specifically for a shot on target. I think my question is, what kind of a match are we going to get? Do we think England play similar to they did in the semifinals, or do we think that they kind of go back to their bread and butter that they've been doing for the first 4 or 5 matches in this tournament, which is a really more conservative approach, try and just keep possession but not take too many chances when they have it, try and control the game. 0-0 kind of works for them. And then if it gets to PKs, they've been doing really well in PKs, even though, the last time they were in this tournament, there was a lot of controversy in how they went out on PKs. So I'm trying to figure that one out in my head as we talk through this. Like, do we expect this to be more of like the 2-1 game that we saw in the Netherlands, or do we see this more as like a 1-0 Spain is happy? Spain, we talked about their defense in the knockout round, that in the group stages, they were like near perfect. So
I'll take it into, I'll answer your question with an answer and some more questions, but I think that it's going to be more of the exciting goal scoring 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 type game. It has to be, because England can't sit back and let Spain just dictate the game. That's what Spain's done to just about everybody so far, and they haven't lost. England has to have a little bit of belief coming off of that last game. Back-to-back finals. They know nobody's really punched Spain in the face yet. I mean, I guess Germany kind of took them to extra time, but Spain really dominated that game, if we're being honest. So England's going to have to figure out a way to fight fire with fire, so to speak. You're not going to play Spain's game, but you do have to put them under pressure. You do have to use the speed that you have on this team. You do have to put their center backs into a little bit of difficulty. Maybe that's weird long balls, old school English style. I don't know, but you got to figure something out. And, you absolutely 100% have to get on the score sheet. So they got to figure out a way to do it. Last thing I'll say before shots on target, Danny Olmo, I do like him at minus 125 currently. I think that line's going to move. I think we gave it out last week. It was like minus 130, and then it jumped to like minus 170 at the time of kickoff. Olmo has been Spain's pretty much player of the tournament. He has been fantastic. So I didn't want to leave that one out. But to your point about this game style, Scotty, I like the over, and we can get over 2 at minus 120. This is a bet that worked out for us twice in the last round between 2 tournaments. You have that little protection with the 2 goals. If both teams score, if one team wins 2-0, you're getting that push. But both instances that we bet it, we did get 3 goals.
Yeah, and both teams to score in this one, minus 105, yes, minus 125, no. I think if you're liking the over, 2, it might be worth a shot to also throw in maybe a both teams to score. One team like England getting 2 goals in 90 minutes in this game, that seems like pretty far fetched. I think their team total over 1.5 was like plus 190, something crazy like that. But I think it could be one of those games where, hey, if you have that first 20-minute goal that is either a crazy outside the box hit that we saw. I think both teams have had one. Yamal had another crazy one. then maybe that forces the other team to get more open, right? Like if England finds themselves down 1-0 early, like maybe they have to kind of switch up and play a little bit more aggressive like they did against the Dutch. So in that sense, I kind of do like the both teams to score as well. It's in a similar vein. I do see, 2 being a pretty, safe number of goals happening in this one. But in my instance, I like, in a final where if you go down early, there's nothing left to really lose by playing more aggressive, that I can
100%.
see either team coming out of their shell.
First half goal for sure.
Yeah,
man, Yamal minus 120 to get a shot on target. Didn't even consider him. I figured it would be unplayable. I didn't think the number would be that good.
I was looking between him and Olmo. I'm in agreement with you. Olmo I like better, and the price is virtually the same. So I would stick. I'm not going to take both. I would stick with Olmo in this one. If you want to take both, I don't blame you. It's 2 players that certainly are likely to hit, but in the event that only one does, now you're out money. So. The other thing I will say, if you want to start getting a little bit creative, I think we've talked to the total. Let's talk about who we think is actually going to come out on top in this one. I kind of said around, right when the knockout brackets came out, I think we did the show with Oaks and Legs. I said I think the winner of Spain, Germany are the eventual champions. I still bought by that. I think Spain is going to be the likely winner in this one. The odds, certainly are favoring them. But if you want to try to get a little bit more than the plus 150 that they're offering, right, it's still a good number. It's plus money. You're not going to hate anyone taking it. Danny Olmo and to score and Spain to win is plus 700. Ooh. That's, again, far thing from a lock. But if you're looking for something that will give you some extra juice to kind of have a little bit of a extra play on this one, I like that one a lot. We just said Olmo probably been their most consistent and best attacking player. Playing behind Morata, get plenty of opportunities. Nico Williams playing on the side, feeding him in. Yamal with his creativity. If Spain win, I think Olmo will probably be involved in the goal in some way. Maybe he gets the assist and you get a tough beat, but at plus 700, it's definitely worth a little bit of consideration.
I agree. I'm taking a little more conservative approach to that, but you're exactly right. I mean, listen, Spain are the winners here, and I think you have to try to take a shot for them to win in the 90 minutes. So Spain win an over 1.5 goals. That's total in the game, not just Spain goals, plus 260. I think that's a great way to juice up that line by about a 110. So that looks like it for me. I know traditionally in these matches, we'll take a look at method of victory. But the numbers just aren't there for like a team to win on penalties. They're like in the plus 600 range. Usually you want to look to like 800 or more. At least I do. I mean, I shouldn't have given that out as blanket advice. You do whatever you want. But if that's in like the plus 800 range or better, I'll take a stab on all 4. Like England penalties, England extra time, Spain penalties, Spain extra time. But the value on Spain isn't where it needs to be, so I will take a shot with them in 90.
And what do you think about Coach had maybe I don't know if he announced this play on the pod, but in the group chat he's kind of been playing it, the 1-1 correct score line.
Rushing that lately.
Plus 350 in this one. Do you think that's another one that's maybe worth a little bit of a look for our listeners?
Yeah, I definitely do. Listen, you guys have now heard us talk about this game for 15 minutes. I think that there's at least 2 goals. Scotty thinks that both teams score. Plus 350, damn sure not bad. And if you're looking at like a lotto ticket, 2-2 is plus 1,200. I mean, like Scotty said, I don't quite know that England get 2 goals, but crazier things have happened.
All right. I think that's about it for the finals in Euro. I mean, it's been a pretty okay tournament, I would say. I think it started a little bit slow. Like we said, we had those teams that we were really looking forward to in France and in England that kind of were slow starters. Croatia,
Portugal sucked towards the end.
Croatia, Belgium didn't really show up like they normally do. I think they're past their golden age, so to speak.
Yes.
But I think we've certainly picked up in the semifinals, and hopefully the finals continues that trend. We should be in for a good one, as long as England don't score first and then just play like the worst brand of park the bus football you've seen.
Yeah. I don't know, but let us know. Let us know what you think. Let's move on to the Copa. That's right here in Miami, where I am. Not going to be able to go, though, because it's $1,800 just to get in the door as of today. Absolutely wild. So I'm sure the scenes here will be nuts. We have, shame on me, guys. I don't have the correct page up with the plays here. Argentina is favored, plus 115 on the money line. Colombia plus 320. Draw plus 195. Draw no bet. Colombia is plus 180, and Colombia plus a quarter of a goal is even money. Scotty, you kind of alluded to it in our intro. We were very high on Colombia. We're not surprised that they've made it here. Their attacking talent has been great. Their goalkeeping and defense have been great. James is not the guy I tipped to lead this team, but he certainly has turned back the clock. And I think we have to say at this point has been player of the tournament. I don't even know that there's a close second at this point. He's something like a goal and 5 assists. Probably could have added to that if the game didn't get out of control against Uruguay. Argentina, like you mentioned, the betting favorite every single step of the way, right? Going into the tournament after the first round, now here in the final. Can't take too much credit for talking about them, but I will say, in my opinion, they haven't looked that good. They've Englanded their ways to the final, right? Very similar to England. They've scored when they've needed to. They did need penalties against someone, Ecuador. I want to say it was Ecuador.
Let's see. Yes, Ecuador.
Okay, so didn't look the best in that game. 2 mediocre games against Canada. Listen, this is a team. Messi and Di Maria are old. Let's just call it what it is. Alvarez and Martinez, 2 fantastic talents, inconsistent game in and game out. And then you got other guys they're throwing in there like Nico Gonzalez, right? This is a guy that barely starts on Fiorentina, and he was starting games. I think he started 2 straight games. So, I think their real talent lies in the midfield, but some of those guys are fatigued, right? First years in the Premier League or things like that. So it's been rough, and it's tough to repeat as champions, and it's tough to play the same, that same kind of 4-3-3. It's tough in this competition because there's a lot of physical, midfield and defense battles that you almost don't have the support. Doesn't matter how talented you are. And I think we've seen Argentina run into a little bit of that so far.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. Argentina have not looked their best. I mean, they had probably the easiest group between Canada, Bolivia, and Peru. So not really much of a challenge there. And then they get Canada again in the semifinals. So pretty easy bracket on their side. Whereas Colombia, unbeaten now, I think in 28 matches. I think we're somewhere around there.
Yep.
Have been playing a lot better. I said should be playing better compared to like their expectations within this tournament. I think the one concern we had at the start when we talked about the preview was Colombia's defense. Is it going to be strong enough to hold up against some of these, premier, teams in the Copa and the attacking talent that they have? And I think they've shown that they can. Only conceded 2 goals in their 5 matches, one of which was against Brazil. So I think that's allowed. And so it's really an interesting matchup because you have this team that, everyone's kind of pegged to be in the final with Argentina, and they certainly have a higher ceiling, but haven't kicked into gear in any way, shape, or form. Really, even against Canada, it was, a pretty even looking match. I mean,
Canada missed a lot of chances.
Yeah, Argentina did more with their chances, and that was the difference. Whereas Colombia continues to just churn out results, and as far as what their talent's ceiling is, they're hitting it. So
yeah,
the question to me in this match is, does Argentina get into that next gear? Because if they don't, I can see Colombia winning this for sure. The draw no bet at plus 180, considering they're unbeaten in 28 straight, is an incredible value. Messi, first time on the score sheet all tournament long was against Canada last match, right? He hasn't scored prior to that one. So maybe that's what gets him going. Maybe he has a classic, Messi performance in the final, his last Copa final. But I think, if you're putting money down, it's the right place to put it is on Colombia. Just they're in that mode already. You don't have to prove anything to us. You just have to keep that consistent level of play. Otherwise, I think it should be Argentina's for the taking.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna agree. Let's start off with the heat. I have 2 plays that I like on Colombia. I like Colombia plus a quarter of a goal, which is even money, and I like this is like a pre-made parlay on DraftKings, so you can probably get creative with it and build your own parlay if you use the spread and the total, but this is, and the numbers will probably be better. But what I'm looking at here, it's tie or Colombia and over 1.5 goals, and that is plus 125. That to me is like the only way it doesn't hit is if Colombia doesn't score, pretty much, right? Because they, if they get a goal, it's a 1-1 game. You've cashed this bet. So I like both of those looks. Like you said, unbeaten in what seems like forever. They've been the best team this tournament. Yes, they're underdogs, but I think they're going to like that. And to be said, they were the better team than Uruguay last game, even down a man. I mean, Uruguay had the bulk of the possession, but they didn't really do anything with it. And Colombia still had better chances. They could have scored 2-3 goals themselves. So really like what they're doing on offense. And, I think Argentina really has struggled to score. So I'm liking this Colombia team. I think you have to take a stab with them.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at the team prop for Colombia. Over half a goal is minus 150. That's crazy. I mean, it's not, listen, it's not a, great number to win with, but as far as what Nick said, like the over 2 or over 1.5,
great parlay piece goals, either way.
Yeah, pepper that into any number of things, right? You can do that with corners or what have you, and probably get yourself a nice even money play with very low risk.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm on the same page with you, Nick. We usually are when we do these podcasts, when we're talking like finals and international competitions. Trying to find some other things that might be of interest. Both teams to score at plus 115. Both teams, their strengths are in their attack typically, although defense has been shined for both teams in this tournament. You got to like both teams to score. Outside of that, going into like some of these player props, we don't have got shots on target. At least I don't. I don't know if you have anything in there. But Alvarez finally got on the score sheet against Canada last match. Keep him running at anytime goal score plus 230. I don't hate that. Messi's at plus 180. I get that this can be a pretty popular pick because usually Messi is going to be close to even money, if not, shorter odds than that. So I don't begrudge you expecting a Messi goal in a final. The other thing to keep an eye on, we sometimes like to talk conspiracies in here. This is Messi's last Copa. Is there going to be a PK for Argentina at some point? Like it could be a questionable instance, and you guess who's taking it, right? It's Messi. So
yeah. Hey, listen,
either those guys, I would be willing to put money on as a goal scorer prop.
Let me cut right in and agree with you. The two penalty kick takers, Messi is plus 180, which is the most insane number we've had on any Messi goal in 4 years. So take that for what it's worth. And then you got James, right? Plus 475. He's done more assisting than goal scoring, but he will take the PKs, I imagine, in this final, should they get one. And like I said, player of the tournament, like at plus 475, I'm taking a shot there all day long. I think that's way too good to pass up. And to your point about both teams scoring, I'll look at the cousin of that again. Over 2 is even money. Yes, it's a final, but that's just way too good for teams that have been involved in, I think, every single game, with the exception of the Ecuador game, has had 2 goals for between both of these teams, like independently with these 2 teams. So have to take this over 2 at even money.
Yeah. Well, Colombia, Uruguay semifinal was 1-0. But other than that,
okay. Yes. So 2 games that
was a red
both
card
of them have played. Right.
Yeah. Red card needed. So,
and then to your point, man, about a penalty, I'm looking at a red. I could see a red card in this final, plus 220 for a red card.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I was looking at the over. The over for cards is like 6.5. I think it's probably like a well placed line. I think we're going to see between 5 and 7 cards in this game. So books obviously know what they're doing. But yeah, I don't know. I could see a red, especially towards the end of the game. It's feisty. A team is up by a goal. Somebody's in the crowd throwing beer. I don't know if we get a repeat of last game, but
I could easily see a coach getting a red card in this. Just, they're going to be in the fourth official's ear nonstop about everything. There's going to be, listen, it's Copa. There's going to be, diving, and there's going to be players making a meal out of every single challenge. There's going to be, high energy and passion on the sidelines. I could definitely see a red card coming from an assistant or what have you. And that cashes the prop. So it's certainly a pretty good one to take. And it's a fun one too, right? Like if you're not trying to root for either side and you're just here to have a good match, red card prop is usually a good way to go.
Hell yeah. So I'm definitely on that. Check your book on that. See what the rules are. Most books now or some books it's probably 50-50. It'll be for only players on the field. So like if a coach or somebody on the bench gets a red, that won't count. Definitely won't count. And I mean, there is no extra time, it's penalties. But if somebody were to get a red card and penalties for something, that wouldn't count. So just keep that in mind. And the other thing that's now taken me 30 minutes to talk about that probably should have led the show off with, but if you've made it this far, shop around, because the lines between book to book in these tournaments have been wildly inconsistent. Like last game we were talking about it, James was like plus 450 to score on FanDuel and DraftKings. He was plus 600 to score on other books. So that's a more than a huge difference, and something to just be on the lookout for.
Yep, always good advice.
I think that's plenty for these games. Scotty, there's nothing up for the third place game, but in Euros. But I will say the third place game, Canada taking on Uruguay, I have kind of two plays that I'm looking at that I just want to throw out there. I want your thoughts on them.
Can I guess? Are you going to take Uruguay -1 at -110?
I was actually going to go Canada +1.
Oh,
at -115. I think Uruguay hasn't looked good. I mean, I shouldn't say that. They've looked good. They're not converting their chances. Certainly not lately. And Canada, they're already playing with house money. They're already going balls to the wall. They have belief. I think they keep it close. I think at worst, this is a push. You get a Uruguay 1-goal win.
So why not go under 2.5 at +105 then?
Could do that too. Because I don't think Canada's getting 2. Do you think Uruguay is?
2. No, that's what I'm saying. I might like the under 2.5 at +105. Okay.
I dig that. The other one that I think has to be a lock is over 1.5 Uruguay team total cards at -130. There's no way they haven't gotten 2+ cards in every single game so far. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I have to imagine.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I do not have card props on this one. So if you can find that, that's certainly one that's worth taking.
Yeah, I can't bet them either. I'm just giving out friendly advice because we don't have that here in Hard Rock.
I do have shots on goal props, and I know you don't like this guy, but Jonathan David at -150. Really? Like that's
he stinks.
Yeah, but you're sitting here saying Canada +1. You're not going to get Jonathan David at -150. Just a shot on target, doesn't have to score.
Yeah, I guess you have to. I mean, I like Larin. I think he's a better player, but he's -200. So okay, I can buy that.
But everybody else, I mean, Nunez is fucking -500. That's not playable. I wouldn't even do 2 on target at -150 with him. Fede Valverde -155. I'd still prefer David over that.
Yeah, another dude, man. He's phenomenal, but he looks gassed, right? Like he looks like he's ready to go home.
Yeah, and then you start getting into the Palistri at -135. I'm not touching that. Eustachio at +250. I don't know. He
takes free kicks, I think.
I was going to say that's the only one that I would do is if they can get a set piece down, inside of 30 yards. Maybe he gets something on a cheap one just on goal over the wall at the keeper.
Yeah, I dig that.
That's the only other one that I would maybe call out.
Agree. Yeah. So if these more lines come out, we'll put out a play for it, before kickoff. But I think that'll wrap it up. We hoping to finish this tournament on a high. Appreciate everybody who's followed along the whole time, watched the shows, watched our plays, interacted with us. Couldn't do it without you guys. And guess what? Club football starts in what? Not even a month?
Not even. Yeah. I think Premier League starts up August. Let's see what I got it. I don't have it right now. But yeah, I think it's like August 12th, somewhere around there.
Well, we'll be back for that. Thanks again.